Welcome, freaks, to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Freaky. Ian and I are here in the Freakopolis Geekery comic book section, and we're talking a bunch of awesome nerd news.
Yeah, this week we're talking Spectacular Spider-Man #1, Secret Weapons #1, Carnage and Venom, a new director for the Han Solo movie, and a bunch of other news.
So stick around after the jump to see our thoughts on a bunch of awesome comic and movie news. So I'm going to kick us off with a little Star Trek news. It was announced this week that Jonathan Frakes will be directing at least one episode of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I love Riker as a character, and Jonathan Frakes, since The Next Generation and throughout The Next Generation series, has done a bunch of director stuff.
Yeah, obviously he's intimately familiar with Star Trek as a whole, so...
Yeah, very true. He's done Star Trek Insurrection, which is not great, but I don't think that was the director's fault. First Contact, which is my favorite Star Trek movie, as well as a bunch of episodes of Star Trek, Castle, V, Dollhouse, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's got a ton of TV credits to his name, so I think that's a really smart move.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like he'll give a bit of that original Star Trek magic that people will be looking for on top of kind of a new age action-y Star Trek.
Yeah, he's certainly proven himself in the TV realm. And I'm really excited for Star Trek Discovery, especially since they announced this week as well that they're sort of, only playing loose with Gene Roddenberry's golden rule of not having any of the Star Fleet members or ship crew have conflict with each other. Which, I thought always sort of handicapped Star Trek in general. So maybe we'll see some infighting, which leads to a lot of great dynamics and drama and stuff. So between Jonathan Frakes and this new news on the way they're writing this new series, I'm definitely looking forward to Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, that is some pretty cool news. I wonder how it'll come out, really. So, my good this week is the Han Solo film has found a new director, and it is Ron Howard. Since both directors left 2 weeks ago, I think.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, in a kind of a storm, now they've finally found another man to finish up the last 10%, and it is Ron Howard, who has had his hands in a bit of sci-fi before with Cocoon and Apollo 13. So I think he knows how to do space, and you were saying he did Arrested Development before.
He was heavily involved in that, which makes for good comedy.
You're right.
Which Han Solo will probably need a touch of.
Yeah, definitely a quippy character, and that show is exemplum for quips.
Yeah, he's obviously a seasoned director again, with a lot of experience with big budget and CGI and stuff, as well as somebody, he's not the greatest director in the world, but he's probably okay with stepping into somebody else's shoes and filling out the rest of a solid movie.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he can pull that vision together, because it sounded like a pretty broken up film by the looks of it.
Yeah, there's definitely been trouble in the water for Han Solo, between that, the editor having trouble, bringing in acting coaches and stuff. I hope Ron Howard can sort of, be the glue that ties this whole thing together, hopefully.
Yeah, still it's Star Wars, and I've seen bad Star Wars films that I still thought were awesome.
Yeah, sure enough, right? So let's move on to our bads. I think both our bads are sort of Spider-Man.
Yeah, to a degree.
Yeah. My bad is the fact that Marvel Studios won't allow Tom Holland, the new Spider-Man, to read the Avengers Infinity War script.
This is because he has a notoriously big mouth.
Yeah, he recently, in the press junket for Spider-Man Homecoming, talked a bit about Spider-Man 3, which sort of hadn't been officially announced and stuff.
We knew there was a Spider-Man 2, but when he was like, Spider-Man 3, they were like, that's a big scoop right there, Tom Holland.
Yeah, so, Marvel's got their snipers trained on him and are limiting his viewing of the next mega blockbuster coming from them, Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because he's in the movie.
Yeah, I know it, right? How much can you hide from him? How long before he leaks a little something and the fans go crazy speculating on it?
Right, we've seen set photos with him, but we also know maybe he's just getting the scenes that he needs, because we've heard that he doesn't exactly know the full scope of the movie, so he's in an interesting place, and I don't really blame Marvel. We've known them to keep their secrets very tight, but poor Tom Holland, man. He's only 21, and maybe they just don't trust him with it.
Yeah, right? Just a kid on the set.
Yeah, exactly. Like Spider-Man.
Right, yeah, no, it makes sense. Hence, he's a good actor for that character.
Yeah.
So my kind of Spider-Man-ish news is more actually a lack of Spider-Man, where Sony has confirmed that their Venom movie and Spider-Verse has nothing to do with Spider-Man or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And there will be no crossovers. And that's a little bit, I don't know, it sounds strange on how they're really going to make a Venom movie where he doesn't have his original and main arch nemesis, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was excited when I sort of saw this movie. Not like crazy, but Tom Hardy being cast I thought was really cool.
That is cool.
I think Venom's a great character, but if they're not going to do the legwork that requires the Venom origin with Spider-Man and his symbiote suit, it's just going to be sort of weird and aimless, I think.
Yeah, much agreed.
The more I'm hearing about this, the less I'm excited for it.
What they did give as a piece of good news recently, however, is that Carnage will be the villain in the first movie, establishing this kind of maybe Agent Venom-esque universe. But Carnage is a pretty great enemy for Venom. Two symbiotes going at it like that could make for some ridiculous set pieces and stuff just exploding.
For sure, yeah. I would be down with an Agent Venom storyline, because I think that's one of the coolest characters Marvel's done in recent years. But yeah, I just hope they do their homework and spend some time making this a solid film.
Yeah.
If they're just trying to bust out a Venom movie, it's not going to be that awesome. So
No. Yeah, they should pay a little bit of homage to where it really comes from.
I think so. So, moving on to our freakies, we both have comics.
Yes.
Let's keep going with Spider-Man.
Yeah, that works. A little bit more Spider-Man for you. Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man #1 from Marvel came out last week.
That's right.
But we have it in now, and I've given it a read, and I enjoyed it very much. It's got a very aloof, not quite so young, still very experienced Spider-Man, but he seems to be back to his original personality roots with goofing around and kind of just having a rough time with his own gadgets and stuff.
Yeah, people are really excited for this series since it's not Dan Slott, who's been running the Amazing Spider-Man series for a number of years now, and there's really no end in sight. And people are starting to tire of his narrative and stuff. This seems to focus more on street-level Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to Dan Slott's Spider-Man, who now owns Parker Industries and is basically a copy of Tony Stark currently in the Marvel Comics. So, people were very excited for that. Did it live up to those expectations?
I feel like it did. It has a lot of what you expect with this classic, just stopping a robbery on his way to catch a movie with another superhero, And funnily enough, this comic made New York feel very small, with both Ant-Man and Captain America Falcon and
Really?
there's just a bunch of superheroes all in one place, like conjoined.
That's Marvel's New York for you. But
Yeah,
there's
right.
A bunch of cameos then, huh?
Yes, oh yeah, a ton of little tie-ins and stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, yeah, that's on shelves now. We have a couple copies. Your local comic shop probably has a couple copies. And they might have a couple copies of this, as we do. Secret Weapons, #1 by Valiant Comics. This was really cool. It takes place in the Faithverse, which is Harbinger and the Psyot, young superheroes whose sort of powers get activated through technology and things. And Superpowers, in particular, follows a group of young Psyots who were sort of deemed unreliable or useless, like their powers aren't that exciting.
Gotcha.
Like, one girl talks to birds. She showed a lot of physical prowess in this issue as well. Another guy conjures random items.
Interesting.
But sort of without knowing what he's going to conjure or when.
So you could pull a piano out of midair.
Pretty much, yeah. In hopes that he might try and pull a piano out of midair, but instead, pull out a ladder. But there's a certain more powerful member of the Psyot group who is sort of gathering these people together and giving them a home. And I really enjoyed this first issue, as there's a really great antagonist and a super cool cast of characters.
Well, it sounds like a bit of Outcasts of Valiant's favorite universe going on right here.
I think so, yeah. And there's not a ton of reading necessary to get into this one. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You jump in, you sort of know these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, and you learn who they are throughout the issue. So I think that works really well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Another thing to point out is that the material is really nice. The cover and everything, it's nice and thick and has some good weight to it. It's definitely a nice comic book just to hold and read.
Yeah, Valiant never fails to deliver a well-printed book.
Yeah.
Which matters to us, or if you read a lot of comics, you notice.
Yeah.
So definitely a freaky book. I super enjoyed it. I think I'm definitely going to pick it up and looking forward to number 2.
Very cool.
And that will do it for this week's The Good, the Bad, and the Freaky. Thank you guys so much. If you could, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Any of the above. It helps us so much to keep making these videos and keep telling you guys what we think about nerd news and hopefully starting this conversation. Better yet, you could stop into the Freakopolis Geekery in Whitehall, New York and talk these things in person. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking on any of the above. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.